Welcome back to SportsCenter. David and Nicole here with you. OKC grabs game one at home. A great sign for SGA and company. Since 2000, 16 Western Conference teams have won game one at home during the conference finals. Of those teams, only the 2012 Spurs did not go on to make the finals. The Thunder 6-1 at home this postseason. That's the sixth time they've won 6 or more of their first 7 home games in franchise history. 3 of those 5 led to a finals appearance. Plenty of series to go, obviously, but OKC trying to make its first finals appearance since 2012. Their only title in franchise history came in 1979 as the Seattle Supersonics.
So we now welcome in the newest guy, the newest member of our SportsCenter at Night family. That would be Michael Malone, former coach of the Denver Nuggets. Hello, sir. Look, obviously you look at this game and the second half told the story of all the things for Oklahoma City. When you look at that offense, how did they break things open the way that they did in the second half?
Well, I actually think it started with their defense. They forced 19 turnovers tonight and converted those into 31 points. We talked about that pregame going in. We talked about during the Denver Nuggets series. You cannot come into this building and turn the ball over and expect to win. And obviously OKC's defense, that's what they do. They do it at an elite level. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he showed why he's the MVP. He took over in the second half, did so in a very efficient manner, and put the team on his back when they needed him to do so.
Hey, Michael, you've obviously had to prepare for this Thunder team many times in the past. So good on both ends of the floor. They play 10 deep. They're relentless on each side of the floor. How do you prepare for a team like OKC?
Well, obviously, to your point, that they're tremendously deep. You saw guys like Kenrich Williams come into the game tonight. Isaiah Joe played tonight, didn't play a lot in their last series. So they're deep, but once again, a lot of controllable things for Minnesota going into game 2. They did not get a lot from their bench tonight. They have to be a lot better. Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker have to be a lot more efficient. But once again, Chris Finch is going to tell his guys, fellas, we cannot play in a crowd. We cannot dribble the ball into the paint. They're going to collapse. They're going to get out and run, and you cannot beat yourself. Good teams don't do that. So a lot to take from this game from Minnesota, and I expect a much better effort from them come game 2.
It wasn't really just their bench. I mean, you saw Julius Randle have one hell of a first half, was a little quiet then in the second half, and there were exactly 0 points from Ant in that fourth quarter. What do those two specifically need to do differently in game 2?
Well, you look at the paint scoring. I think the final score in the paint was 54-20 in OKC's favor. I think Minnesota settled for a lot of threes tonight. I think they can be a lot more aggressive. Give credit to OKC's defense. They sit and boxes and elbows take away the paint, but they've got to get some easy baskets. They got to get out and run, try to score in transition. Julius Randle had a great first half, building on a stellar playoff performance so far up until the Western Conference Finals in game 1. But he's got to bring that for 4 quarters. It can't be just for a half. And Anthony Edwards, he's got to be the guy that kind of sets the tone, looks to score, attacks the basket. And if they're going to sit and take him away, he's got to find guys. And when he does that, those players have to step up and make open shots. And they really struggled in that area tonight.
So game 1 in the books. It goes to OKC, and the chess match begins. We'll see what kind of adjustments are made ahead of game 2 on Thursday. Michael Malone, good enough to join us tonight on Sports.
Going the third, SGA driving scores. And this came up a lot. And the foul. How he twists his body in the air. Thunder outscored the Wolves 32-18 in the third. In the fourth, a lot of the same. Hubs trying to keep it close. Julius Randle misses the layup, gets his own rebound, puts it back. He had a big night, but it simply wasn't enough because SGA north of 30 points. Thunder take game 1, 114-88. And we are joined now by Chet Holmgren. Think you can hear me? Congratulations. What do you say about your second half and how this team puts together that win?
I just tried to go out there and make some plays to help our team win. I stunk it up in the first 2 quarters, so I had to turn it around and leave it all out there. There's no point in saving anything. If the game's going to end, you got to leave it all out there.
Okay, so when you, in your own words, stink it up in the first 2 quarters, you go into the break. What do you tell yourself to get your mind right when you go back out there?
Just stay aggressive, but don't force anything. Make the right plays, and then start it with energy on defense. And I feel like we did a good job of that, and that led to our run.
So when you look at where the defense was effective, I mean, you absolutely shut down Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter. Julius Randle was so good in the first half, fairly quiet in the second half. How did you do it? What was the key?
I think it's a plural answer. We got really good point of attack defenders. A lot of credit goes to Queso, AC, Lou, Dub at times. K. Rich came in and made big plays for us all the way down the line. And then understanding that you don't guard good players with just one person. So it's a team effort out there. We're always helping each other, helping the helper. And then, it allows you to play more aggressive when you know that somebody has your back on the backside.
I'm curious because it was Shai who told Lisa Salters right after the game that he said he almost felt rusty early on in this game. How do you avoid that now moving into the second game?
Who said that?
Shai did. SGA.
I don't know. You just got to, trust your process. We've played a lot of games this year, and there's a process leading up to every single game. And, there's no surprises at this point. We know what we're doing. We know what we need to do when we get out there. So just, trust the work, trust what the coaches are telling us, trust each other out there, and good things will follow.
Chet, thank you for the time. Thursday, game 2. We'll see you then.
Timberwolves coach Chris Finch.
We didn't have a lot of patience in the second half, and then our rushed offense, didn't get a bunch of quality looks, and then it affected our defense, honestly. We got some fouls early, which I thought made us a bit softer than we needed to be, and then it was just then when we did get good looks, they didn't go down. So.
You mentioned the defense became a little softer. Was that the main issue in your eyes on that end of the floor in the second?
Yeah, I think it was, like I said, our offense affected our defense, and that can't happen. And so.
Chris, the amount of good looks it seemed like you had from three. I mean, how do you feel just about?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good shots out there. I think we got to clean things up a little bit. Sometimes the passes were late. Sometimes we weren't quite shot ready. Sometimes we need to turn them into other plays. But I did think that we got a number of really good looks. And we really couldn't connect when the game was kind of turning against us. So.
And Julius was great in the first half, and then did they just really kind of load up on him in the second half?
I didn't see necessarily anything different. That's on me. I got to get him the ball. I got to get him more involved to start that second half. So
down halfway through the third quarter, and they win this in a runaway. Thunder now 6-1 at home this postseason, outscoring their opponents by 176. That's an average of more than 25 a game. Best point differential in a 7-game span at home in NBA postseason history. Yes, ahead of the 2016 Cavs. Yes, ahead of the 2014 Spurs. Both of those teams won the title.
Tim Legler is here. It's not that the Thunder were down. It's that they were down at the half. They were down midway through the third. Then they outscored the Timberwolves by 14 in the third quarter. So how did they find their groove? How did they get it together?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to get to his sweet spot, and that's the mid-range area of the floor. In the first half, Minnesota did a great job of forcing him to either be a deep jump shooter or everything was at the restricted area. He only had 2 mid-range jump shots in the entire first half, and he went 2 for 13. He comes out to start the third quarter, and this is the one he wants right there. He goes full speed. Nobody stops on a dime the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does. He gets that little lean back jumper. He was also aggressive here, as you could see him around the rim, that time with his own putback. But this is the shot that has defined Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's season and really the last several seasons for him. It's that 18 to 20-foot jump shot off the dribble in a one-on-one setting, and he was able to get to that. And I thought it calmed his team down. When you start to see your best player operate with efficiency, everybody starts to calm down, and then they stay in their lane, and then Oklahoma City's defense took over.
Because he wasn't shooting well in the first half. Right. He only had 11 points in the first half. It wasn't just their offense, though, in the second half. If you think about the defense, they calmed Julius Randle, and then, of course, in the fourth quarter, we'll get to a little bit more of Anthony Edwards, but at the end of the day, he had 0 points. So when you look at what the defense was able to do for OKC, what impressed you the most?
Think about what OKC did this year as a team. These things shouldn't go together. Number one, in defending the three-point line, while defending the paint at the highest level. Like, those two things shouldn't go together. And also giving up the fewest points in transition. That's what this team is defensively. That's their identity. And you saw that on full display in the second half. Outscored them 70-40 in the second half. And this defense swarming, picking up every 50-50 ball, the activity with their hands. And I just thought they made Minnesota's life miserable. Minnesota took 50 three-point shots in this game, almost twice as many as two-point shots. That's not who they are as a team. And Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards, of course, not able to get anything in the paint at all. Not enough balance in their offense.
Just real quick, what's your level of concern when it comes to Ant's ankle?
Very, because when this game was still within reach, 10, 12-point game in the fourth quarter, Anthony Edwards has erased those deficits by himself. He could not get to that shot going left where he pushes off his right foot to get separation. This is the play he hurts it. I believe it's the first quarter. The entire second half, he did not take any jump shots going to his left, which requires you to push off on your right foot. He might not say it after the game. He might want to ignore it. I think it's a factor. At least in this game it was. His aggressiveness was taken away from him from that point on. It's not an excuse. OKC played great. They dominated in the second half, but it was a factor. You can't deny it. He'll have 48 hours to figure it out for game 2.
It is something to watch before Thursday's game. Thunder hosting the Timberwolves. You had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was 2 for 13 in the first half. 11 missed field goals are tied for the most in any half this season, regular season or the playoffs. He had just 11 points. Then came the second half, and that man took over. A step-back jumper. That made it a 2-point lead for the Thunder. Make it 4 with that. Then 2 minutes left in the third. The lead has now grown to 9. He can do silly things. Thunder up 73-62, now up 8. Getting by Anthony Edwards easily. And one. SGA completely redeemed himself in the third quarter. He went 2 for 13 in the first half. He finished 5 of 8 in the third. He had 12 points. 12 points in one quarter compared to the 11 he had the entire first half. The Thunder had a 10-point lead going into the fourth. Then not much changed in the fourth quarter. Off a turnover, little defense into offense. Man was falling away. There was a foul. Thunder had a 91-77 lead after that. He was 11 of 14 from the free throw line as well. Gets that one for 2. That made it 93-81. SGA had 20 points in the second half. He had 11 in the first half, finished with a game-high 31. Thunder win Game 1, 114-88. You on SportsCenter Thunder head coach Marc Daigneault.
I thought that was the game, for us, to play as poorly as we did offensively in the first half and to be down 4 was a major victory for us at halftime. And the defense was a huge catalyst in that. I thought offensively, it's a very different series. It's a very different team stylistically, and I just thought it took us some time to calibrate that. They're a lot more pressure-oriented on the perimeter. They're a lot more physical on the perimeter. Denver, plays you at a lower pickup and packs it in. Their physicality is different, but this team is really up the floor, pressuring and really after you. And so I just thought it took us a second to calibrate to the opponent, but our defense allowed us the margin to do that, obviously.
Let's go over to the other side. There's Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. Let's hear what they have to say.
What did you feel like was working offensively for you guys in this game, when it was working and when the offense got a little stuck? What were you running into?
What was working? Just making the right play, taking out shots. Yeah, I think that was pretty much what was working in the first half.
Julius, in the first half, I think he had 20 and really aggressive. The shot was going in. Did they adjust to you at all in the second half, or what changed for you half to half offensively?
I don't really think they did anything different other than just try to run me off the three-point line a little bit. That was really the only thing different. Their defense is the same. They're heavy gaps, boxes and elbows. So I don't really think they did anything different. They just tried to get me off the three-point line, off my catch and shoots, and that was it.
Getting downhill, and both of y'all, question for both of y'all. Getting downhill is kind of me, strong suit, from the last 2 series, and even just, kind of you guys' identity. What did you feel like, with their size coming into this matchup was the biggest adjustment that you guys had to make, given that you guys only had 20 points in the paint this game, coming off of, 72 versus Golden State in Game 5?
They clog the paint. That's what they do. They don't got much size down there, so
they bank on us not making shots, I guess, because every time I go to the rim, it's like 4 people in the paint. So, yeah, I guess they just be clogging the paint. They put like 4 bodies in the paint, make you kick it out. So, just keep making the right play.
Julius, what do you think changed defensively for you guys in the second half, or was it just a matter of them hitting more shots in the second half?
I mean, the first half, what was it, 48, 44? So, I mean, it wasn't like it was a shootout in the first half, you know what I mean? So it's just, even if we're not making shots, we still got to defend at a high level. And, I mean, we gave them 32 in the third, and then the fourth, it got away from us, obviously. We gave them 38, but whether it's misses or makes, we still got to defend at a high level. And I think that was probably the difference in the second half. Obviously, we didn't shoot the ball as well as we wanted to tonight, you know. But regardless of that, I mean, we really held them to 100 points into the end of the game. Obviously, where they made some baskets, so we gotta defend at a little bit better level in that third quarter.
And Dante was saying in the locker room that it seemed like they were throwing different looks at you guys every other possession on offense. Just how did it make it hard for you to read, or hard for the team to read, or just how did you kind of process their defense?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to process because he's right. It was different. It was different every time. I mean, heavy in the gaps. Sometimes trap the ball screen. Sometimes don't. Sometimes just run and jump. It's kind of similar to like AAU. They remind me of like an AAU defensive team. Just run and jump, fly around. So it was pretty good. Good to get it out of our system in game 1. You know, so we'll be ready for game 2. We should be ready.
Seems like one of the turning points in the game was when Jaden got his 3rd and 4th fouls early in the third quarter. Did his absence affect you guys on either end of the court, do you think?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, he's the best defender we got, and they usually put the 5 on him, and we play through him in the pocket. And he makes the right play over and over again, and he's super aggressive. So when he's not on the floor, it definitely hurts for sure.
Gilgeous-Alexander, not amazing in the first half. In the second half, MVP. It's new on SportsCenter.
We haven't had the greatest of third quarters this playoff run so far. We want to make that emphasis, like come out of halftime with a punch, with a little jolt, with some energy, and not ease into it. And we'll be better off towards the end of the game. We just made that emphasis, and we didn't panic. Obviously, with the struggles in the first half, we missed a bunch of layups as a group. We missed free throws, like the easy ones, and we knew that we stuck with it. They would eventually fall, and they did.
Shai, you've played a handful of series now as a first option. What have you sort of learned about how to process a game from quarter to quarter, how you value each quarter up until maybe the point it's time for you to close a game?
Yeah, it's always a chess match out there. Like, you go out there, you have a base coverage, you have something that you want to start with, then you see how the game goes, and then you just read and react and adjust from there. They make a move, you make a move. Like it's back and forth, and it's going to be like that throughout the series. They're a really good team. They'll make adjustments. They'll get better for sure. We have to continue to get better as well.
All right, we're joined now by our NBA senior writer, the Hall of Famer, Marc Spears. Marc, it has been a long time coming for this Thunder team. Their first conference finals since 2016, a whole different cast of characters back then. You were there then, too. Take us inside the building. What was the atmosphere like tonight?
Well, I'm going to take you even back further. I came to games here in 2005 when the New Orleans Hornets were here during Hurricane Katrina. I came to the first game here 2009 when they moved from Seattle, and now take you to tonight. Definitely knew those games with KD and James Harden and Russ. It was certainly as loud as those games. They call this place Loud City for a reason. It was an incredible environment. They're here 20 minutes before the game. Fans it's like a college environment. I heard like the University of Oklahoma attendance isn't the same as it used to be because of the affinity for these Thunder. And it could change pretty soon because they're actually building a new arena across the street. I believe this could be the loudest place in the NBA now that Oracle Arena is gone. I think it could go the way of Oracle Arena once the new building is open. But until then, man, yeah, this place is. I got to get. I see that there was a little baby with those earmuffs.
Yeah.
Kind of want to borrow them from the baby because the baby was tougher than me. The baby stopped using them.
Oh, geez. Okay, there you go. Leave the baby with the earmuffs. Let's just say that.
They build them tough in OKC.
Yes, they do, Mark. So, listen, home court's a real thing for the Thunder. They're winning by 25 a game at home this postseason. One of the youngest teams in the NBA, but so poised tonight, particularly in the second half. What stood out to you about the game?
Look, this team averages 24 years in age. I'm going to remind you, 24 years in age. They got a bunch of guys on Minnesota that are older than that. Mike Conley's pushing 40. So is Joe English. But on one day off, one day prepare, they were extremely mature. And Minnesota came in, threw that first punch, were much better in the first half. And the play that kind of stood out to me that shows you the poise of Oklahoma City is their star, SGA. Shai got fouled. Anthony Edwards didn't like the foul, thought he was baiting, and he tossed the ball at him, hit him in the foot. Shai just laid there, got back up, and shot his free throws. Didn't get rattled, even though the crowd was upset. And somehow they figured it out to will it down, be down 4 at half. In the second half, it was just a totally different team. They caught their energy back. So for a team that young to show so much poise and look like they were the rest of the team, they were the more prepared team, we better get used to seeing this for a long time. Because if they're doing that this young and they got the money to pay these guys, yeah, we just got to get Oklahoma City to figure out how to get more direct flights. But otherwise, we better get used to getting there.